tired of DOJ.
Up to 12.
Can you guys hear me? Yes. Okay, all right. I can speak into this. My name is Sandra Boku. I am the regional coordinator from New Jersey Department of Transportation, Office of Government and Community Relations. I think I've spoken to some of you guys, and I think I've also gotten some emails from some of you guys. Thank you for taking time out to come in and attend this public information center for the Route 35 project, safety project here. So we don't have a presentation to show you guys because the whole purpose of the meeting was not a presentation, right? So the purpose of the meeting was to come in and get your feedback.
Really? No.
Really?
No.
Absolutely.
You gotta be kidding me.
Meeting's over. Not every other. There's a good idea. This is a very bad idea.
I think I just got it. Initially started with the local officials, and we got your feedback, okay? And then we started hearing strong feedback from you guys, and we're not sure how you guys got information, and we want to make sure we give you guys the right information, and then collect your feedback. We are in the concept development phase. So we are in the concept development phase, right? That's the first phase in the project that we do. It's us being able to collect data and to collect the community feedback. We can't move with projects if the community is so opposed to it. We are developing different plans, and the plans is to get some good ones from you guys, and then to get good ones from the local officials. And then go back to the drawing board and then talk about what will work in terms of what the federal government requirements are and what the community requirements are. So every project that we do in the state of New Jersey, we have to get what we call resolution of support. And our resolution of support comes from local officials that are representative of the community. So we don't want you guys to say, hey, they're coming in and they're doing this, and now they're in the final design phase and they're moving this project along. We are starting with collecting data and getting the feedback from the community. So,
can you just tell them how this got started? And why? And why?
Okay, so every project gets started based on reports that we get that there's a safety issue, and then we do a problem statement. So problem statement means we come out, we look at the corridor of the 35 and where the issues are, and then we see if there's funding to be available for it and what kind of safety improvement that we need to have. And that's how it was initiated.
What kind of safety issue?
Okay, so, you know what, we're going ahead of each other, right? We're going ahead of, the project. So I'm gonna have the designers, talk a little bit about the project. And then there are, boards and stuff for you guys to look, and then you can ask us some questions, okay?
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Bruce Klein, with the consultant on the team, the DOT team and Associates. So, the problem statement that came out of DOT identified crashes along this corridor that were higher than the statewide averages, okay? And there was a lot of crashes that had to do with pedestrians and bicyclists.
Well, that's their problem.
So here that's what's happened today, right? And we have a history of pedestrian and bicycle crashes, high injury crashes. The DOT has a target zero commission. Anybody that's heard of this, there's a move to have zero deaths, okay? Right, you might as well aim high, right? Get as high as you can, and you get as close as you can. One of those things that has come out recently is they have what's called a high injury network along the entire state, okay? And this corridor, portions of this corridor, the northern end of Lavallette, is actually on that list of a high injury.
Just give me a second. The incidence rate, though, I guess is the question here for me, is we have 1,500 people here in the wintertime, right? So if you use the denominator of 9 accidents that I see on this map here, and you divide it by 1,500, I can understand why you get that. There are 35,000 people here from Memorial
Excuse me. Could you please repeat the question or the comment so we could hear it out here? Repeat it on your microphone.
There's a speaker.
Hi. Hi, can everybody hear me? Better? Sorry, for the folks outside. My name is Ken Miser, 13 Brown Avenue here in Lavallette. By the way, I'm the president of the First Aid Squad here, and so I've been to many of these accidents that you talked about. And I guess my first question here is, when you determine, and 0 deaths, 0 injuries is a very laudable goal. I think we all support that idea. It is, however, perfection, right? And I think perfection is something that we can't necessarily obtain here. I guess my question here is that when you identify this corridor as a high risk, high incidence area, and I see on your chart here 9 incidents in the study period, right? I'm wondering if the denominator that makes that issue or categorizes that as a high incidence rate is based on the idea of 1,500 year-round residents who are here versus 30 to 35,000 people that are here from Memorial Day until Labor Day, and whether or not the incidence timing is also taking that into account. Which of these are summer accidents versus winter accidents? And so I guess the first qualifying question that I have here is, how do you determine that this, with 9 incidents in the time period, is a high risk, high incidence, above normative behavior element here?
So I can give you that portion of it, but I can give you I think a pretty clear answer on what the high injury network is, right? That was done at the state level by the state of New Jersey, Department of Transportation. They went through all highways in all of New Jersey, all of the data, and they ranked them by their injury and fatality number. Total number, doesn't matter how many people live there, doesn't matter how much traffic is on the road. But think about what that means though, just think about what that means. If you are on a roadway that there is a high incident of injury and fatality, wouldn't you want somebody to take a look at that and figure out why do they put that on?
Not without the data.
But it is, it's ranked very
They didn't look at the population.
One person at a time.
So let me just finish. that is not the number of accidents, crashes that have happened in the last 2 years. Those are the ones that had a fatality or a serious injury. There's many other crashes that have happened that weren't necessarily fatal or serious injury. That bottom there is 5 years. The bottom one is 5 years. That's what they base the high injury. And again, this is state level. And this is one of the things that you want to start to focus on when you start seeing those things around the state.
But did you take into account what time of the year it was? Did you delineate between January and July? Because it is crazy here in the summer.
That's right.
But in the winter, when the rest of us live here, we love to start in June.
But maybe we want to get into getting your feedback on what you think needs to be done to improve things that you see out there. If you feel it's unsafe to cross the street in any way. That's right. That's right. So there's things that we want to hear from you that are specific to where you live and what you do to help us. Right?
I have a follow-up question. If your goal is to reduce accidents and fatalities,
This is gonna create more accidents.
We don't know what we're doing yet.
who came up with the idea or the plan that this plan would reduce those accidents and fatalities?
I will let you know right now, we don't have a plan.
Looks
Okay?
like a
No,
plan.
When I say that is, our plan is not, right, we're doing a study and our plan is not, here is what we're doing, we're here to tell you that there's a laundry list of things that I think what you're referencing is important. It's not our report. We are now in the stages of analyzing the data very clearly.
Is the data available to, because we've asked for the data, where is the data and is it available? No, not the pictures, the actual data. Is there a data room we can go to?
Use the microphone.
It's way over there.
Use the microphone when you speak. We can't hear you.
So the website, we had some issue when we posted it, but it should be posted, so you guys can be able to look at it starting tonight. And for the next.
There's a link from the borough website too.
So
Didn't
we're
work.
coming back.
She said it wasn't updated.
Actually look at it or not?
No, you can, put the comments
So you
in
don't
the
want our,
website.
you don't want our input on the plan, you just want to hear how we feel about everything. Is this what this whole
I think we're
charade
trying
is
to tell you
about?
that we don't have a plan, we don't have a plan, this is something that we want to have.
We don't have a plan, what are we talking about?
Let me be super clear. I'm gonna be super clear because I think this is what needs to be said, right? The plan that you got, or the idea you guys have seen that Route 35 is gonna be two-way traffic on both sides? That's false, okay? That's false, okay? That is not something that we are saying we're gonna do.
Where did it come from?
Yeah, why did we see it? Why did we see it?
So,
Hold on,
if the
everybody.
community doesn't support it, which clearly the community doesn't support it,
Yes.
why we are not going to do it.
Push that button. It's gotta be green. Push it once. Once, don't hold it. Just push it.
Let me keep going. Let me please keep going, okay? Because again, I think this is gonna take it down another notch, all right? When I say we don't have a plan, we have ideas about what we're here to get.
Stop shouting out, please. You're not helping.
We're here to get your feedback. We have a board that says what we are focusing on, okay? And this meeting was to have people come up and talk individually about their ideas, all right? I understand there's a big crowd, all right?
We got a question back
So right
here.
now, we're in the process, okay, of doing the analysis, getting public information on what you feel are the issues or problems that's in, so that we can come up with solutions to those within the confines of the project. Okay, so right? So we're here to get it, then we do an alternative analysis. We look at all the data, we look at traffic volumes, we look at crashes, right? We look at pedestrians, we look at bicycles, we look at what it's like in the summer, we look at what it's like in the off-season, and we analyze all of that, and then we come up with solutions that are going to fix some of the issues that we're seeing and some of the concerns of the public. Okay, we don't have the plan yet because this is one of the stages for us to even start thinking about this. That other report was purely a laundry list of things that safety experts say can help. It doesn't mean it's right for the community. It just means those are things that can possibly help if that makes sense.
Okay.
Okay?
No, I have the mic. There's a question back here.
I have a suggestion. I think we need to look at enforcing the bicycle. The town does, when kids are going, I mean, everybody's going the wrong way. If they just are addressed, and if they want to shop, and instead of biking through town, you want to bike, but they have to pay for it. I almost said,
And I think there's also a question about what's next. So the first process, out of this public information center, gather information. We go in, we start talking to subject matter experts in terms of the community. We do our own analysis. Then we start coming up with some alternatives. Then we talk to the local officials in town. Okay? Then we talk to maybe some groups in town. Eventually, we will get to a point where officials will have the application. Then we'll come back to you, the public, and say, here's what we did. All of our analysis. This is the result. This is our preferred alternative at the time. Let's talk about it. Let's get your feedback. Probably tweaks. I don't think at that point we're not going to say, hey, guess what? It's stuck in the 2A35. That's not going to happen. That's not going to get passed. The local officials. Well, hold on. I'm sorry. The question came from over there before. The question came from over there regarding the process. And the process is we will have another public information center where we do have a plan, as you want to call it, a preferred alternative for both of them.
You say you have no plan. I'm Joanne Philip, I'm a councilwoman, I'm the liaison to the police department. My police chief has gone to a minimum of 3 meetings since your plan or their plan began. It started with 2-way traffic from the curve coming off the bridge all the way stopping at Kerr Avenue. I didn't make this up. This was their plan, DOT, maybe not yours, DOT. He questioned Kerr. Why stop at Kerr? What are we going to do on Kerr? The highways were going 2 directions each. What about the bottleneck now that you're creating at Kerr? Why Kerr? Next meeting. Oh, we're going to go from 35 to 25. I didn't make this up. This is from my chief of police, who was at your DOT meeting with their plan. Don't come here and tell me that there's no plan, because you're going to plan for your What we have to say about it, I told you before the first person showed up. Leave us alone. You put in handicapped corners, and you put curbs on the corners. So there's curbing that you hit when you tried to get your wheelchair off, and people were tripping over it. That's a plan. It was a DOT plan. My mayor who's sitting up there told you not to do it. You didn't listen. So now what you want to do, you want to correct it. Please do that, because you were wrong in the first place. Whoever it is, Department of Transportation passes a ridiculous law that you have to stop the pedestrians who step off a curb. Try it. Try it with 35,000 people here. 2-lane highway. Trucks, vans, you can't see the people. And if the right lane can see the people, the left lane can't.
How are we supposed to make a left?
The other doesn't. And I'm here 20 some odd years. I can only recall, especially in the left right, 1 fatality on our road. And that person crossed in the middle of the road. Not at the corner, not on the lights, not looking both ways necessarily. We've had some accidents, yes, mostly fender benders, maybe a couple of injuries. Why speed limit is 35, you're doing 70? You can make the speed limit 25 and do 70, the same accidents could happen.
Just to bounce off of what you have to say, I've been here for 54 years now. Before after the train station had gone. They made that south and this way north. If you have it both sides, it's gonna cause more problems. The survey in December didn't see everything, but where are you now? When, like this gentleman said, there's a lot more tourists down. Yeah, it's gonna cause more accidents, more issues.
And the last thing is parking. You want to change the annual fee, annual parking, so they'll be back in.
Quiet.
We're a senior citizen county and a senior citizen community. It just does not work. So if you want our input, I think you got it, but I'm gonna let other people talk.
Okay, I brought ideas, but you did ask for people to bring ideas. I will first say, I do appreciate that when you saw an issue, you looked into it, because you don't know our town, and maybe those numbers look like there was a problem here, about safety and harm. But as soon as you received a letter from our mayor explaining the things that were explained in the letter, just stop there. I think I spoke with you, and it's my understanding, and Ron, please explain, that you received a grant from the state, and then you use that grant for this study. And if you do not use the grant, you lose the grant. Is that
Interesting.
You told me that on the line.
Democratic the concept development stage. And that's what we're doing. We have to complete the concept development phase. Because we can't start and just stop right in the middle. Why not? We are in the process, we have to follow the whole phase. So we're in the process of talking to local officials, and we're talking to the public to get your feedback.
But the question is, do you lose the grant if you do not finish the study?
We have the grants to finish the grant, concept development, not the funding. Yes, same thing. So we have the funding to address the problem statement. The problem statement, we have to go through concept development, and that's what we're doing now.
I understand that, but at some point, I walked into a problem, and I realized that I don't need to take this through. I've decided that this doesn't make sense. There's not a problem here. Stop spending our money. Stop spending our money. The two-way roads, all those things don't make any sense. What would make sense, I live right up on, I live right on 35, Benchmark condominiums, so I get to see a lot, because I live right on the highway, okay? What would be very helpful, there are some one-way drivers. And I see it happen all the time. They come out of New York Avenue, they look that way, when you use it, right, like I said, thinking it's a two-way road. There is not a one-way sign on all four corners, because there aren't poles on all four corners, and then they go against the traffic. Now, usually, in season, it doesn't matter, because there's enough cars that they'll honk at them, they're going slow, they'll be able to turn around, go this spot. And in the winter, there's nobody on the road, it's a ghost town, little tumbleweeds going down the road. What would be very helpful is on some of the streets, you do have orange containers that say do not enter, one way, whatever they say. If there could be one of those at every intersection, so somebody doesn't travel 3 blocks before they realize they're going the wrong way, that would be helpful. And then somebody mentioned about the bicycles. I watched the other day, I was sitting in my front thing, bicycles going the wrong way, kids with no shoes on, no helmets, going diagonal across 35, then a golf cart went down in the bike lane. Like, just some of the rules that we have, and I know it's hard, we can do a little patrol, we give them a ticket. I don't problems that really do exist, all this other stuff doesn't
coming out today. Great response. Our feedback to this committee. We received this report, and it does contain recommendations in here. This may be what's confusing many of the people here. We got this from the chief of police, who was in attendance with your site visit. And I believe that that's probably, we distributed it, and it probably caused a lot of the uproar we see in the newspapers, even on TV. But I appreciate the community being involved. I have to agree with Ken over here that there has to be some denominator, as he called it, is the number of cars that travel this roadway in a given period of time that we use to determine whether there's a high number of accidents, or is it the residents, which is even a worse issue. Where traffic studies actually counts of the number of cars going by here, taken so that we know compared to the Garden State Parkway, which has many more accidents, or how are we on this list? Is it based upon population, or cars actually counted along the way? Some of these recommendations in here we'd be happy to implement. Some of them clearly are against the public desires here, mainly the two-way traffic on each of the highways, the backing parking, really a no-go around here. If you did your site inspection in February, you should have done it in drive-through weekend, and you can see. The backing parking would be completely impossible during the weekend in the summer. It's just no way. It's bumper to bumper. The guy behind is going to pull up on you, and you're not going to be able to park. It's going to be even just at this point. Another thing that I think might be contributing to all this, and somebody mentioned it earlier, is the pedestrian safety law that was passed that requires the cars to stop as soon as somebody steps off the curb, as long as they're in the intersection. Many of the pedestrians that are here are enjoying the weekend and oblivious pretty much to the traffic. They're on the cell phones, they step right out in the traffic, and that causes the cars to come to a sudden stop, and one or two cars behind them can't do it quick enough. The largest number of accidents, according to the study, are rear-end accidents, and I believe that pedestrian law is contributing to that, and the state may they certainly weren't considering mature communities when they passed that law, and I really think, as our Assemblyman reiterated in his letter, you need to really investigate with the locals and see what they want. You need to talk to the police officers who do these investigations. I was a police officer here for over 25 years. I literally investigated over 100 accidents, probably 200 accidents during my period of time. The number one accident is the rear end. The number two is what you call a side sway, but in reality, it's a left turn from the right lane. And it used to be number one, but now it's number two, and I believe that is because of the pedestrian safety law. That's, made people stop suddenly, especially on a two-lane highway. The other line frequently cannot see those pedestrians, and when they get up to them, they slam on the brakes, and the guy behind them hits them because they're not prepared for that. I don't know what the solution for that is, other than possibly changing that pedestrian law or having more signage. I did make a suggestion to you earlier about the barrels that we do place on the corners. They're not on the approved traffic control device list, but they're very, very effective. So if you can consider including those, maybe we could put them out on every corner. It does prevent, especially coming down from the ocean block, people making a left and going south on the northbound highways. 100% effective. The other side, you can put the wrong way sign so bikes and cars can see that. Wrong way accidents, as the statistics prove here, are very, very low. Number of accidents here because people see it, they pull off. It's not a problem. And I do not believe that speed is a contributing factor. During the weekends here, nobody's going over 25 miles. So the speed, that we have here in wintertime makes our travel much more convenient. So we don't mind the change on the southbound highway. When you were here in February, you asked why we changed it. We do not change it. The state of New Jersey changed that. They control these highways. And we're okay with it. 45 in the winter is appropriate. 35 other times of year are absolutely appropriate as well. So we don't want the back end, we don't want two ways. And what was that third one I was just talking about? All right. Anybody else?
I appreciate it. I have many of the same concerns as the other people do. But there are some things that could be done. I was involved with bicycle safety programs for years. But when I taught Addison, New York, there was no program. I see adults who don't know the bicycle safety laws when the children actually know a little bit better. I also see the adults not teach their children first. So when you can get involved with what the schools do and don't do, that would help the situation. Also, I guess I've been coming to Lavallette for about 65 years. And I tried to sit down and say, how many times have I seen somebody turn the wrong way and go the wrong way on 35 North? 6. And I have a good, still have a good evening with my agent. That's what I see. I'm sure it's multiples of that. But those people get turned around rapidly. The problem we have is signage. I think there are no one-way signs. I mean, and I'll tell you, my family is over, oh gosh, 60 years been involved with renting to people who don't live in the area, confrontation. Hundreds and hundreds of families that we rent to. They don't understand how the roads work. They don't understand how to cross 35 south and 35 north. They know where the lights are, and they use them. I think that what we need to do is just focus on the small things that are missing. Things like the signage, and maybe another light or two. I don't know, that's what we don't do. To change these roads, you would have generations of people that come to Lavallette for vacation, not knowing what to do when the roads are changed from one way in each direction.
Hi, I'm State Assemblyman Paul Knitcher. I've got the 10th Legislative District, and obviously, I also was the former mayor of Point Pleasant Beach, mayor of Cicero. I understand 35 coming right through a community, and the seasonal aspects of that as well, and the increase in population, and especially in unique towns like Point Pleasant Beach and Lavallette, the proximity of people on their bikes and walking around, conflicting with massive traffic. As the mayor mentioned, we wrote a letter to your department, essentially supporting the mayor and the council's position, which is the position of pretty much everybody in this room. The room is packed because people are passionate about the, let's just call it the top 5 or so issues on there. And you had mentioned earlier that, if the community didn't want it, you guys weren't going to do it. I think we could probably calm down the entire room if we just went through them individually and you guys gave us feedback and said that you were, we're not going to move forward. So are we all on the same page with the two-way traffic on both sides, 35 north and south? Nobody in the community wants this, the mayor and council doesn't.
No. Absolutely.
So do we have the commitment, because I didn't get a response to my letter, so I just want to go through these individually. You can calm down this room and you would have everybody
Unfortunately, we are not the powers that be to say no to it. So I'm letting you guys know. We have to take it back. The whole point is to collect feedback. We get you guys to talk about it. Like, we cannot.
I just want to say that what you said earlier is a little disingenuous. Well, let me ask you this. I'm going to keep asking until I get an answer that's concrete. Are there plans, big ticket items, like in the mayor and council's letter and like in our letter, that the community could be drastically against that you all would implement?
So if you're referring to the recommendations, which is plans, right? Those are the
Driveway improvement, barrier on 35,
the RSA, that was the one in the RSA, okay. So those are the recommendations and those are plans, right? So when we come in and we do public information centers, we are collecting all the feedbacks from you guys. We have to take it back because I'm not a commissioner of the Department of Corrections.
Okay.
I am not the director. So we're taking it all back so we can say, these are the stuff that the community is against. And I can also state that we normally get resolution of support. And when we don't have resolution of support, we don't typically just, say A, but just go ahead.
And so, then let's just for the record, for your feedback, since you're gonna take the feedback back, there wasn't anybody here that's for two-way traffic on 35 North?
No!
Driveway revisions, is there anybody here that wants all the driveways done?
No!
All right, so I hope people are taking the feedback here as we go through this, okay? The roadway configuration change ending at Kerr Avenue, is there anybody that wants that?
No!
Okay, there's feedback on that as well. Proposed barrier installation on Route 35 North?
No!
Okay, and two-way bicycle traffic on a one-way roadway?
No!
And
Absolutely.
reverse back in angle. Even though you won't commit to it, look, I want to be clear, my job is not just to help the mayor and council who are doing an excellent job here, but we represent 250,000 people here, and Lavallette is a big portion of our district. I just want to say, you can go back confidently and say that not a single person in the room, anybody that showed up, year-round resident or part-time resident, supports any of those components. And I just want to be clear that if any of the plans include those components in the final thing, we can talk through all the different safety aspects all we want. We will all fight that tooth and nail to the end. And
Hey, my name is Jim McDonald, 120 Camden Avenue, been here since 1990, owning the house with Lavallette since. Can you hear me now? Yeah. Okay, Jim McDonald, 120 Camden Avenue, but I've owned the property here since 1990, and come to my aunt's house since 1949 when I was born. And so I've been here my entire life. I agree with everything that the representative said, the mayor said, except for one thing. One thing is that I want you just to consider it, and I know I'm definitely on my minority here, and I understand that, but just hear me out. Just let me have my say, and then I'm okay. And that is the back-end parking. I personally was a victim of a car coming out. I was riding my bike, there was a woman in front of me on a bike. A car just came out blindly, and both of us went down a few years ago. Luckily, no serious injury, bruises, cuts, that's it, and so forth. Every time I try to back out of a pull-in spot, okay, you cannot see. I have cameras, I have new cars, I have cameras all around my cars. You cannot see backing out who's coming in the bike lane and who isn't, okay, so just understand that. So, hear me out, please, just let me have my say, and you guys can cheer or yell, whatever you want. My son lives in Hoboken. And so I go up to Hoboken on a regular basis. Anybody's been there?
I lived in
Hang on a
both.
second.
I lived in both. I lived in both the first year.
Let me just finish, please. And so, when I go up to Hoboken, the main street, Washington Street, and Willow Avenue, North End, most of that is back-in parking.
No, it's
All right?
not. No, it's not. Only the north end of Washington is back in. So you don't know what you're talking about.
I used to live there. Your son lives there.
When you back in park, here's the reasons why it's a good safety. The reason why it's good, when you back in park, most cars have cameras back in easily, slow down and back in. When you go to pull out, you start to pull out and you immediately can look right down the bike lane and right down the traffic to see what's coming. You cannot do that when you back up. You cannot do that. It's impossible. I go very slow, and you still can't see anything. Okay. Now, let me just give you some facts, on how after they implemented,
Shut up. You don't know what you're talking about, Hoboken. You've been talking for 5 minutes.
Here, after they implemented back in parking. Seriously, went down by 60%. Here, after they stated that, okay, those are the facts. The other thing that is, when you back in, all of us in this room, most of us in this room have grandchildren, have children and grandchildren. When you open up a car door, and a child gets out, he heads to the back of the car. Opening a car door when you're back in allows the child to get out and head to the curb, head to the sidewalk, not out into the traffic. Okay? Because I had 2 sons, when they were 3 to 5 years old. Anyway.
None of it. Closer, closer.
I'm a friend. Trust me.
You better get out while you can.
Sorry, man.
I looked into how many towns have gone through this change. Yes, Hoboken, those areas were on the list. I think there was 15 towns that did it. 2 were short. And he did it in very limited spots. One was Long Branch, which belonged to your village. One was Asbury Park. I looked a little further and see what the challenges were. And I think some of the biggest challenges for us, and what I've read, is there's a bit of a learning curve. So when you're backing into a spot, especially with the big SUV, it's very hard to do. There's a learning curve, and if we were not a short community and we were all permanent residents, okay, we'd finally figure it out. But every Saturday in the summer in this town, we have thousands and thousands of people that are going to be on this learning curve. So we are constantly going to be on a learning curve on how to do this. We speak about the children and things like that, so you actually create some more blind spots when you back in. And as we all know, we have many restaurants and so forth that have outside dining, that are waiting to get into the restaurant along the street. So you're creating blind spots, and I think we're putting those folks at harm. You have cars idling that are creating fumes, and we have homes that are along the 35. So I know there are some benefits, but a lot of the research that's been done has been done in parking lots and in suburban areas. I didn't find much in the short community, and I think we really have to think twice.
So much thanks, 515 people.
Well, get their microphone.
515 people. Unfortunately, I can tell you, residents down here.
Well, get their microphone.
I've been giving a cup of coffee to the engineer after he deadheaded at Seaside Park. And then the highway came in the early 50s, and it was fought by the power brokers up in Bayhead and in Manawatu. Otherwise, with the 2-lane highway, what would it take place? Not sure of that. I'm here to make a suggestion. Ever since what the genius was to allow pedestrians just to step off the curb and have the traffic stop on highways like these Avenue, it was ridiculous. And this was addressed down in Palm Beach County. And how it was addressed, you don't need to have a pedestrian cross at every single street. They have maybe a 4 or 5 block window where a person can walk, and they have blinking lights that are solar activated. And that is the crossing area. And these can be temporarily put out in the summer months when the problem is here. And all these problems are exacerbated by the bicycles, the walkers, and TikTok, and all of the other stuff that goes on. That's what should be addressed. And the other thing that I suggest, the department, if you're going to recommend anything, Department of Transportation, I have a sign in front of my house, I live on Bay Boulevard, and on there, there's a sign that you have to be older than 55 to understand. And it's a playground sign that has a seesaw on it. And I'm not going to unless you're over 55, but understand what that sign means. So you have a lot of work to do other than worrying about this 2-way street here in this moment.
broken down.
Still can't hear you.
Adeline Tropiano, 29 Camden Avenue. Everything that's been said, I agree with, because you're so young. And even the people that come down here in the summer are familiar with the traffic and the bikes and so on and so forth. What I really would like to see is all this funding that you claim you have. Would you please go back to Trek and tell them that we want that money so that we can use proper signs, road signs, arrow signs. If you have better arrows where the bikers are, they wouldn't be going wrong. People would not be going wrong. So can we have some of that funding? If so, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay,
Not yet.
Person that just said Bay Boulevard. I live on Bay Boulevard in the worst intersection, which is the West Point Island intersection. If you go ahead and do this, all you're gonna do is create, or make a problem worse. Because right now, Bay Boulevard is called, it's not called, it is a bypass. People will not fight the traffic on 35 north, so guess what? That is a very important part of Lavallette. It is we're a bayfront community, not only an oceanfront community. And what you're doing is gonna hurt everybody, every person in this group.
Here, 104 Brown Avenue. I just wanted to say, I know we have barrels, but sometimes we get a lot of water around here, so sometimes barrels might go floating where they are marked. I personally would like to see arrows on the street themselves, the roadway. I feel like as a driver, I would look down and see that arrow going in the direction I should be going. That's number one. Number two, I just witnessed car versus two men on a bicycle the other day. I called it in. Ken was on the other side. It could have been disastrous. Luckily, the female was not going fast. She was just pulling out. We have signs on 35 stating that bicyclists should not be entering this way. They do not read the signs. We have signage pollution. So we have to figure out to simplify things and enforce and teach and educate, and we are a resort town. But we must educate and teach and have people out there monitoring the casualness, the fun, the enjoyment of bicyclists versus cars. That's the other thing. Backing into a parking lot or into a spot on 35, this is a concrete example. Personally, we live on a residential street in the middle of the 235s. My husband went to back up on the residential street, and a woman came around the corner so fast and so hard and came within 12 inches of T-boning him on a residential street. That wasn't on 35. I'm just giving concrete examples of what I see that we could improve on, and I hope you will take this as a consideration. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I want to say something. Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry. I hear you were coordinating the microphone.
Probably, I don't know too what we have in here. A couple of things. With all due respect, on the
diagonal parking switching. I actually went to the trouble of counting and looking at the things this morning. I measured from the end of the line where the diagonal stops to the bike path is 7 feet. In order to pull out, where my head is in my small Camry, 7 feet between me and the front of my car. If I pull out on a diagonal facing this way on a northbound lane, I have to pull out 4 feet to be able to see who's in a bike lane. That means that the front end of my car is 1 foot into the bike lane before I can see down the street to see if there's a bike. I also looked at the amount of the ability to park on this street. There were 167 large SUVs that extended beyond the edge of the white line, which means that complicates the matter. There were 48 pickups that were within 3 feet of the bicycle path. Therefore, you cannot see the other way. And from 2018, most cars needed to have a backup camera with a wide, at least 120-degree frame of view. You're taking that at the rear bumper, which even if it's just 3 inches outside of that line of sight, you can see better than if you have to pull your car out into the street to see what's coming down the street. Reverse diagonal in this town will not work. It's dangerous. You're putting more people at risk. And all this focus areas of consider this, consider that, is bureaucratic window dressing. People know, and we'll be there if they try to move forward. Thank you.
I just want to say, just real quick, I agree with everything that everybody has said in the room about the potential changes. I've been a nurse practitioner for over 40 years. I've done trauma, I've seen it all, worked on safety. The one common theme that I hear in here is the bicycles and signs. There should be a no tolerance policy or something in the town regarding bicycles. If you go the wrong way, you're done. You do whatever needs to do. It happens in other towns. That's an easy fix for all of us. In addition to the data and the variables that you're looking at with the data from the accidents that you presented in the beginning, I hope you're looking at the time of day. Was there alcohol, was there drug abuse, and was there texting involved? Because a majority, and you can agree to disagree, of accidents that occur in the state of New Jersey, back-ended, are from texting or using your telephone. So those are things that I think we can fix right now. Signs and the bicycles, and that should really start tomorrow. It is so unsafe. There is clearly an arrow pointing in the direction that you should be going, and people are going the opposite way. Adults and children as well.
I have a quickie. My name is Randy Blau, 1001 Bay Boulevard. The family's been here since 1950, so we've seen a lot across the street from us. In any case, accidents happen because people are careless. Changing the roadway is not going to change careless people. Thank you.
Can it be looked into to put the bicycle lanes in front of the cars? Have a sidewalk, bicycle lane, a small curb, and then the parking. It's done in New York City that way. And then with a little barrier, and they can't go out into the street.
Councilwoman Anita Hill from Lavallette. I just want to throw one idea in that
Years ago, I go to Miami as lucky as I am. I stay from Lavallette for a week in the winter and get to South Beach, Miami. When I was down there, I noticed that they didn't have so much trouble with the bicycles, but the bicycle paths were all painted green. So whenever you saw a green lane, it was for bicycles, and everybody knew it. And we didn't even worry about it, because that bicycle lane is green. So I came back, I thought, wow, I wonder if we could try that. So I called up the DOT, NJDOT, and I suggested that. Why don't you try painting bicycle lanes? Try it in one town, see if it works. Paint all your bicycle lanes green, and everybody will realize, that's bicycle green. Well, you know what the NJDOT told me? That's a great idea. Get in touch with Wall Assemblyman and with people that make the laws, and we'll do it. We'll do it. Never happened though, because nobody did it. But you know what? Maybe it's time we give that a whirl. Paint the bicycles lanes green. It's my money and something different. But let's try anything that makes it safer for our children and for us. Thank you. All right. He's going to introduce a piece of legislation.
One of 5 acres.
Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
You know how we think. The only thing that disturbs me is you say, you don't make the decision. Somebody else makes the decision. You gather all the information you want to. We need to talk to the people who make the decision. We need a list, some way to contact these people and take the decision. You hear what we're saying. I have visions of all this backing in the park. You see some people in the summer. Just need another drink. But we need to know who actually is going to make the decisions on this stuff. Not that you people are going to listen to us. One more quick comment from me. I'm looking at these displays that the committee has brought here. They're seeking your opinion. That's what that says. So take a picture of that, take the survey, and let them know what we really think about their plans.
Hi, can everybody hear me? Yes. Thank you. I have a house at 101 Camden the last 26 years, and now I have one that I'm building at 104. And everybody says, why would you build a house across the street from a house you already have? Well, I'm going to tell you why. I have 14 grandchildren. I think we are all here because we love Lavallette. I think we're all here because we want Lavallette to stay safe, not only for crime, but for pedestrians, for the people that walk the streets, the people that come and visit. It's noted as being one of the greatest places in New Jersey. Everybody wants to be here. I'm here because I'm asking for more safety. I live on Camden Avenue. The next street over is where we have our beautiful gazebo and music. Most of the people crossing there are like me, a little older. But on Camden Avenue, where you have the basketball courts, where you have the bocce, where you have the pickleball, while you have all the things that kids like doing, fishing and stuff, kayaking, comes out the camera. I'm looking for a crosswalk there. I'm looking for them to slow down. People are flying by every single day. My kids are scared. I'm scared. I had one of the zoning guys come and stop because I put one of those little men with a flag out, and he said, well, you can't put it in the parking spot, you put it in your driveway. I literally sit in a chair at the end of my driveway trying to get people to slow down. Kids are kids. Us adults walking on the next street, we have a little bit better common sense. We need to keep Lavallette safe. I think we're all here because we care so much. And I'm asking now if you care about my grandchildren that don't want to keep on coming here and stay safe. So if you can, I appreciate what you're doing. I've been on the right now. I understand all of it really, really well. This money needs to be spent on keeping Lavallette what we all know is spent. Someone lost, someone safe,
for a family. This two-way parking, I understand what she was saying about Hoboken. I have buildings in Hoboken. One end, they do have that parking, but the other end, where it's busy, it's back-end parking.
But they don't
so
have
I'm
bike
saying-
lanes.
But you're talking about
You're talking about bike
less,
lanes.
people that are more used to city driving, you're talking about people who are more aware, who grew up in the cities. It's not the community that we live in, so that was the point, and a lot of parallel parking. So it's a mix of all, but you're talking about kids that are growing up in a city, people that grow up in cities. We're used to, you stop for each other, right? In Hoboken, people, you jump in the street and somebody stops because that's what you're taught in the city, right?
Exactly.
So it's like
It's a
comparing
whole-
apples to oranges.
It's a whole different concept, but this
Right.
is another thing that everybody needs to be reminded, when they come to Lavallette, they're on vacation, they're in the relaxed mode. They're not thinking about the rules and regulations of their daily life. And the kids that are riding bikes, crossing the street, going up and down to the beach, the same thing. All I'm asking is that you support me in keeping Lavallette safe and keeping it one of the places in New Jersey. Your microphone's off. Sorry?
I think you've heard from a lot of folks, appreciate all the work you're trying to get done here, and hopefully you can accept that feedback with valuable from that community. I think in summary, it sounds to me like what you're hearing from us is rather radical, dramatic change that may or may not work. Let's talk about some really powerful incremental changes. Signage, painting a bicycle path, enforcement, and also fill out a recommendation on the intersection, say going up to 35 north. You come from, let's say, up to Camden, and you're trying to take that left. Rather than having a four-way walkway, keep the north side of 35 south free, so I'm focused on cars coming to my right, and not having to continue to, do a pivot test to try to figure out who's walking where and what they should and shouldn't do. Small changes, I think incremental changes in what we're hearing we'd like to see happen, and that would be pretty powerful for the community. Thank you.
And then redo the survey.
Right here. Here.
Thank you.
Hi, Steve Roytos, 121 Pennsylvania Avenue. I don't think anybody's addressed the problem with emergency vehicles if we're going north-south with the, can't hear me? Hear me now? How about that? So I have, with the proposal to go north-south, no one's addressed the problem with the emergency vehicles. As it is now, people can move over into the right lane and let the emergency vehicle pass. Now, if you have it north-south, cars are going to go into the bike lane. There could be accidents, people can get killed, and people can possibly die because the emergency vehicle can't get to where they need to go. Sorry.
Battery replacement.
Who's next?
Low in the corner.
Close to your mouth.
Yeah. Loud.
So we've heard a lot of things today.
We can't hear you.
Yeah, I can't hear you. Can't hear you.
How about this? You've heard a lot from us. We can hear a little bit from you. So the question, I have two questions specifically. One is, we've heard some suggestions about changing pedestrian lanes, changing bike lanes. Has that been considered?
has it been considered public funding from the state to local government to put in the things that we need, signage, painting, and so forth, as part of the solution, rather than just some slap plan from the state?
So again, for this project, we're in this process, right? It takes time, right? We have to go through concept development, we have to get the preliminary, we have project limits that we're tied to, we can extend, just so everybody understands. I don't think that was talked about. Hello? Yeah. So, when you guys all have a chance, I'm hoping that you're able to come up here and just take a look at these. We do have that survey, we have a website, I just want to make sure everybody gets engaged with that, sees that, make sure they have an opportunity to look at the documents we have there and provide their input. But we did extend the limits, okay, that are now also into Tom's River. We went through Lavallette all the way. We're going to West Channel Way, which goes into Tom's River.
Excuse me, sir, I don't interrupt, but can you answer my question? The things that have been suggested here today, have they been considered as part of the solution?
Yeah, so again, we're considering everything that you're talking about and many of the things that are, let's say, bringing things up to standard, right? The handicap ramps or the ADA accessible ramps that have the curbs. We wouldn't want to do that again, right? So we're clearly going to go through and fix that problem. Signing and striping, we're going to go through a process to say what exactly needs to be done along the corridor at an individual intersection based on traffic data, based on crash data, based on current standards, bringing things up to current standards. Things have changed since the project or since the roadway has been rebuilt after Sandy, right? Standards have changed. We bring all of the project limits up to current federal guidelines and state standards.
As part of the funding, is there any consideration about additional funding to local government in order to implement the standards or to put in place the things that it needs to enforce those laws that are already on the books?
That is a different process that I will not track into. This project doesn't go into providing funding for the county or for municipalities to do, let's say, the education side of things or the enforcement side of things. So that is a separate, I'll say, funding pool that would be under different programs. I don't know where, I don't personally do that. You know, I don't manage the town or the county, I'm not the government. The state does.
Can the state speak to that?
So something for this project is something for this project. If local municipality currently wants to fund it through the state, they have to go to what we call local aid, and they have to put in for it, right? So local aid every year comes up with different grants that they support, whether it's safety, whether it's different stuff. So they have to apply for it. We can tell them to apply for it. So the municipality has to decide what they felt like they want to grant for, and if it's available, they go ahead and apply.
Getting paid.
Thank you.
We live on Philadelphia Avenue.
Green button.
Green button.
We live on Philadelphia.
Much better.
Can you dictate and give us what you think we should have an opinion on? So you're shaking your head no. It would be nice to have a conversation and a thought process instead of just hearing, because I think you have an overwhelming understanding of how we feel. He just asked a question that you deflect and didn't answer. He asked you, did you think about this in the past? You just said, look at my son. I would like to know, in your thoughts, the mayor got, or not the mayor, if I'm understanding this correct, the police commissioner or the chief went to a meeting and got some things, okay? Did he ever hear signage? Did he ever hear bicycles? Because the mayor didn't read that to us. Did you consider that? I agree that we should be incremental. Why? Because I checked ChatGPT, it costs $500 to $800 to put a sign up. We have 29 or 28 streets here. And so if you do that, it's $30,000 if it's 500 or it's 60,000. Probably less than your grant. And we can correct the problem. But could you please answer his question, have you guys ever talked about signage? Or just somebody else's idea over here to take care of what our life will be impeded?
We did talk about signage when we were all in the field as part of that road safety project, and talked about signs such as one way, do not enter, pedestrian crossing signs, all of those things that we looked at the report, there are recommendations, and we would, as we go through our process, when we start to lay out our alternatives, we'll be very clear as to what we feel and what we understand A, the community is looking for, and B, what the standards are. If there's a one-way sign that's missing and a do not enter sign that's missing, we're obligated to put that in because it's a standard. It's a federal regulation that says, when you have a situation like this is what you have to do at the absolute minimum. So we talk about it in terms of we are going to go through a process of looking at everything to make sure that it, A, meets standards. So the answer is, yes, we will be looking at signage. Yes, we will be looking at striping. Yes, we'll be looking at the traffic signals. Yes, we'll be looking at where pedestrians cross. Yes, we'll be looking at where bicycles are. This is all part of the analysis stage, which is, so we're asking for the input of, like, when you're out there and you go, hey, I'm in this corner, I see this happen, and you know what? I don't like that. Can you guys fix it? That's what the survey is gonna do. The survey is gonna ask these questions of, do you feel safe crossing? What's the biggest thing of your concern?
But let me explain my limited knowledge and problem. Historically, I've been in business, and decisions are made when you have complete knowledge of everything. But it sounds like there were things given when it didn't have a complete understanding of where we live and what we do. When you can give me an opinion when you're not in the area by a survey or when you came one day, is very difficult. You have a difficult job. I'm not saying it's easy, but some of the suggestions there are wholesale changes and run into the hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you can put 60,000 and have signage done within 3 weeks. We have the manpower in this, in the town. Take some of the grant that you have right there and the study. I know you can't. But take some of the grant you have right there, give it to the 60,000, and we would be safer within 3 weeks. Why do we have to wait 3 years to have something done when we can incrementally do the signage now? Well, it doesn't work that way because it's bureaucratic. I like to solve problems. The problem is signage.
But that was both ways. Just to be clear, every street in Lavallette, painted on the asphalt of the side street, are arrows. One arrow tells you you can go straight, one arrow tells you you can turn left, one can turn right. Tell me the name of the streets I haven't done. How about, I'm not gonna argue, I'm just gonna point out. There are some streets in town with so many signs that nobody reads them. There are one-way signs at every near corner and far corner. People don't obey. Bicycle riders do not obey, starting with the parents and the children. Have you investigated the impact of marijuana on all this? Have you spoken to the impact of telephone use while you're walking, while you're riding a bike, while you're driving a car? All those things in the last 5 years have impacted on accidents. People are not paying attention. You can put up 5,000 signs. If they don't read them, they don't obey. And they choose not to obey. Purposely. In order to have bicycle safety on every road, I need 2 cops on the westbound and 2 cops on the southbound for 28 blocks.
Yeah, but even the ones that are out there aren't even saying turn your bike around. You're not.
We cannot confiscate their bike
We can't give a ticket to a 12-year-old. They have no ID. We're tell me where the parents are. I'm not a police officer. I'm not a police officer, but my understanding is you can't pick them up.
Tell you right there.
At least tell them to turn around, or get off their freaking bus. Get off their bikes.
Did you address the speed limit in your study?
Right up your
The
mouth.
speed limit, did you address it in your study? Could you just give us a little information about 25 versus 35?
Yeah, so again, the study isn't completed yet, right? We're gathering information, so we have some speed data information that we got back in fall. We're gonna get speed information now this summer, right? So we're gonna be looking at both the speed information, the volume information, to see exactly how fast people are going, and if there is a justification for the speed limit.
I don't need a mic, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
How many people are on the?
We're out here, we can't hear you. How many people are on the committee that are doing this study?
And I have a second to go.
So what I will tell you is we get input from the local government, okay, the police, the engineer, the government agency. We get input from the county as necessary. We get input from the state, they're called subject matter experts, okay? There are dozens of them.
And that's great.
So they all look at it. The subject matter experts go to go, I know this, I'm focused on this, and this is what I'm telling you is what needs to get done for the standard, and what I would also recommend based upon the information.
Okay, so the local people obviously know the town. You have all these other people that have input. How many of them really know the town?
And that's why we're here.
Are you outside? Did you go outside? Go stand on the corner for 5 minutes and take a look at what goes on in our town. Every one of you, go out there and take a look. For 5 minutes, you'll see.
Hi, my name is Maureen Lawrence. I live at 109 Vance. I just want you to give me an idea of how long before I have to learn how to back into a parking spot.
Would the speed limit on the present 35 south stay 25 all year?
Ask that question again.
Would the speed limit on the proposed plan for 35 south be 25 miles an hour all year?
They said yes.
Let him answer it.
That's what they said.
To make the determination whether or not that is something that we can consider, that's, you just haven't done it yet. If the community is speaking out to say against it, that's what we'll also consider as part of the problem. Without doing it right now, we don't have a solution. What we have is data and input that we can now start going through the analysis to see what does make sense.
Isabel Amato, 104A Vance.
Closer.
Isabel Amato, 104A Vance Avenue. I experienced 2 incidences, almost near misses. Last night, my family were on the corner right here in front of the building. And a van is pulling out on the corner across from us on the beach block. And it's a couple. And it's after 10 o'clock at night, there's no traffic, there's a police vehicle with their lights on in front of the municipal building, and we're flashing our lights and beeping the horn because the man had his left turn signal on, and he was going to make a left no matter what. He totally ignored us. The police officer in the vehicle is flashing his lights, and the man turned anyway, right in front of the police vehicle, and he realized that he was going the wrong way. There's no traffic. It's human error. You can put up all the signs you want. You get overloaded with signs. You get overloaded with everything going the wrong way. It's human error. You can only control so much of that. We do the best we can, and during the season, where it's very crowded, you'll probably have more incidences because of humans. It's not because of the signage or the police force, because everybody's doing their job. And I had another incident 2 days before, 10 o'clock at night, right in front of the church. And my friend was pulling out of her car on Philadelphia, and there were 3 young teens on their bikes on the sidewalk going south. And my friend calls me and she says, I'm still in my car, about to pull out. Did you see what happened just now? And I said, no, it's quiet. There's no traffic. She said, I almost hit those 3 boys on their bikes. She said, I was looking to my right to see if any traffic was coming, and then they crossed in front of me. And I said, why didn't you look both ways? It's human error. Thank God they didn't get hurt. That's the bottom line. You can't change everything with rules and signs.
There are 3 E's, right? We talked about 3 E's. Engineering, education, and enforcement. So the work hand in hand. So that community has to work on the enforcement and education and come up with engineering solutions that also support.
May I just add to the hazardous condition at the curb cuts at the intersections? That was a hazard when that was put in, because it was for handicapped people. But it's a hazard when people are talking and walking, pulling strollers, carts, and bikes, and they trip over them onto the road. That needs to be removed. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else out here want to speak?
President of the First Aid. Unlock the door.
I jammed that, but they said the elevator
I'll go
can't
take
get up.
care of it.
I don't think she's spoken to that yet. Way back. Try to take turns, try to take turns. I'm sorry, real quick, and I know I've been at kind of turn already. We talked about some of the big ideas, and I think you've got some clear consensus from folks on that. You see a sign up here that I haven't had a chance to look at yet that talks about focus areas. So when you think about engineering and what are those 3 E's, right? What are other lower impact items, not that are in the plan, but are in the arsenal of things that you might think about in here? And could you give us some feedback on that? You've heard a lot from us today. Like, I'm hoping that the focus areas would tell us, like, what are other things that are under consideration? Sure, I think there's,
Nothing.
for everybody's information, we have a board up here that identifies, the people can't see, I'm just gonna walk through, I can walk through it if you like, right? So one of the first things is the traffic signals. So we want to make sure that the traffic signals are up to current standards, are operational, everything works on them, and they provide a clear message to all users, right? So we're gonna be looking at the traffic signals, so how they operate, if they're, the amount of time you have for a green signal is good, if the block indication is proper, the road block, the flashing don't block, the countdown timers. So we're gonna go through the process for all the existing traffic signals and analyze them and make sure that they're brought up to current standards, right? Access management, There's something that I think was mentioned about driveways, or reconstructing driveways, or changing driveways. I don't believe that we're gonna get into removing driveways across the whole entire corridor, making access totally different. But sometimes there's certain locations, where driveways may be extra large, where they cause a hazard for pedestrians, right? If you're a pedestrian crossing a very long driveway, you're obviously, exposed to a much more higher risk than if it's a narrow drive. So we'll be looking at access. Again, I haven't gone through the full process, but there may be some driveways that can slightly modify as part of the process due to the current configuration. Maybe it doesn't understand, right? Pavement treatment. We talked about people standing on their brakes during accidents. There is a type of pavement that could possibly help with that, especially in slippery conditions. So it's called like a high friction surface. So that's something to look at. We're not saying we're absolutely going to do it or we're not going to do it, but it's something that's going to be considered to minimize the amount of skidding in those types of accidents when it's hard to get out of control, right? Intersection operations. There are certain locations where there is a high demand for turning traffic. Okay? There's some areas where people said people are not side swipes, it's somebody who's in the right lane wants to get all the way over and make that turn. And there's certain areas that may require some modification to lane configuration to maybe give a left turn lane or a right turn lane if there's a very heavy volume. So we're going to look at that. It could be rear end accidents because people are queued behind somebody that's traveling and stopping in traffic. So we might want to provide something to get them out of the way of through traffic, to minimize those incidents. Signage and pavement markings, I think we've talked about that enough. We're going to look at both sides of the road, and we're going to certainly be going over what type of pavement and signage is appropriate and necessary. Pedestrian warning devices. There was someone who indicated maybe provide pedestrians every 4 blocks at the crossing, and we can push a button and get some type of flashing beacon or some type of traffic. We're going to be looking at that to see if there are any locations that are specific that might be able to be enhanced with some signalization or what they call a rapid flashing. Because we've seen them before, you push a button and it's got lights on the top and the bottom and they flash rapidly to indicate the pedestrians what's in place. That could be helpful at certain locations where we see those types of incidents, both with Skyline Park, where there's going to be people crossing a line, and there's no traffic signal or anything. Route 35 southbound has quite a few locations where there are traffic signals, and people who walk across have a hard time doing that, so we may consider looking at something like that. Bicycle facilities. Talked about two-way bikes. Bikes going in both directions. Is there an alternative that says maybe we can put a bike lane that has bikes, that gives them space to go 2 directions? I don't know yet, but certainly it's something to consider. We don't know. They're doing it today, they're doing it illegally, and there are things that are very true. We've heard that there are people on the sidewalk going the opposite way. So we want to look to see if it's a feasible option. I'm not saying it's going to happen. It's just something that's in the larger list of things that we look at to see if there's any type of bike lane considerations that we can accommodate there to make it safe. Make it safe, I think. Separating the vehicles and the bikes. Somebody said, can't you put the bike lane at the curb and put the parking lane first, so that way you don't have a conflict between parking and bikes? It's certainly something that we're going to look at. Don't know if there's enough room, don't know if it's going to make sense, but we're going to look at it, analyze it, and see whether or not that doesn't. Right? It's not there now, it's going to be a change, but it's going to be something that if it does help corrections and it does help safety, we're going to look at it and eventually recommend it. Right? Intersection geometry, we talked a lot about cars going the opposite way. We have the parking lot that's very deep, right? We have people who walk out. So where the curb is really far away from where the traffic is, right? Especially on the northbound side, right? So we want to get the pedestrians closer to the travel lane before they start walking, visible to traffic, have a shorter distance to cross. Live traffic that is way back at the existing curb. So one of the things that we do is curb extensions. It's an option, I'm sure many of you have seen that, where you actually have the curb lane way out closer to the travel lane than blocked by that parking. So if you're a pedestrian, you're now being blocked by the parked vehicles while you're queuing, and secondly, where that big yellow line is in that big shoulder area, where cars going the opposite way, instead of putting up a drum that's just temporary that can, as someone mentioned, float away, you can put in a curb extension with the do not enter sign right on it. So somebody who's going to make a left going from the beach going southbound on a northbound direction, they're only going to have 2 lanes. They're not going to have this big wide lane or big shoulder that has a yellow line, which actually looks kind of like a double yellow and kind of looks like a lane that you could travel going southbound. That's not the intent of that lane. Sidewalk connectivity. There's a lot of missing sidewalk on the southbound side of Route 35. There's very little sidewalk on the south side, right? So we're going to be looking at providing sidewalk connectivity, providing better bike facilities going south. ADA compliance, which is with the curb ramps, which is with the tripping hazards that you have. All of those are going to be looked at, and all of them will be up for reconstruction. Certainly get rid of the tripping hazards, but also to get rid of anything that's not compliant, doesn't meet current standards, which are federal standards that we have to comply with. What do we got? Roadway cross section. Looking at lane widths and shoulder widths, make sure they meet current standards. Some of the lanes are very narrow, which is okay if you want to contract it, but we're going to take a look at it. We always have to go through a process. Again, as part of the analysis, we have subject matter experts at the DOT. All they do is focus on roadway geometry. That's what they do. They know the rules, the regulations, and the standards. So when we go to them, we're going to say, you know, you got to do this because that's the standard. Or we want to get away from that because of this, because of that. And then we can make exceptions depending on what it is that we're asking for. So we go through that process, and that's what we're going to do with them for the roadway cross section, which is lighting. We want to see if the lighting is accurate. As the DOT, with their traffic signals, they have standards for how the light has to be at night, so pedestrians are seen, right? We have a crosswalk along an uncontrolled approach, so uncontrolled means no stop sign, 35 doesn't stop. Pedestrian has to cross. So they have standards to make sure the lighting there is good enough so that at night, pedestrians can be seen by the cars that are traffic. And then another thing is ITS facilities, which is those big variable message boards. They might want to have, again, this is something that the state has their own department that looks at things like traffic cameras that they put out to make sure to see traffic, you know, during peak season, where the safest incidents they can respond to. Or if there's a variable message board that they need to be up to show that there's something going on the state highway, on the bridge or something else. So those drivers of some conditions that's ahead of them. So those are the focus areas of this study. It's not necessarily the only thing. If there are other things that come out of our analysis and the process that we go through, we might look at something else that may not fit into exactly what these categories. Sure.
George Howell again. You were talking about turning lanes, right turn, left turn. So as I was looking a little deeper,
Plug in the microphone.
I think it was 17 towns in New Jersey converted to the traffic. One being a short community, so starting to take a picture of that. You know, if we had a blank slate or if we were in a different area, a lot of these things would make sense. So how would you handle a center turn lane? Because the majority of the towns that did convert put in a center turn lane. We don't have any more room, or not room to put in a center turn lane. And secondly, if we had two-way traffic and we have an emergency, first aid call, then one of our local businesses or something, they have to park and we can't get them close to the building, so they're going to be blocking traffic. We're just going to gridlock the whole town. So how do we handle that if something like that should happen?
So we haven't gone through the process of analyzing two-way traffic on either of the roadways, right? So I can't give you a definitive answer because we haven't gone through that process. And again, the feedback here, everything that we've heard recently is, please don't change it to two-way on both directions, right? So if we find that it's like, oh, great reason to do it, it's amazing, this is gonna solve all the problems. Obviously not clear to us now, but that's the case. If there was that reason, then go through that analysis and go to the town, go to emergency services and say, hey, listen, this is one of the ideas that we're doing, this is how, what it's gonna solve, how does that interact with your operations, and how does that impact you? Is this acceptable? Sometimes, like you said, maybe it's wider lanes, people can move over and get around. Maybe, again, not one lane, not one direction, you guys working around. That happens all the time, right? There's emergency, close the road, emergency. That's not something. But, well, I'm not saying Fourth of July weekend, right? But, you know, clearly, this community is very different in the summer than it is in the off-season. And so that has its own challenges, right? We want to design for the worst case, but we also want to keep it safe for when there's really not that many people there. How do you kind of balance those two things, right? So that's a challenge. We're going to go through that process to understand what's best for not only the peak season, but also the off season.
My name is Dean Hanson. I'm from 30 East Shell Way. Firstly, you had mentioned that there's a board working on this project, somewhere around 50 or 70 people.
Not necessarily a board, but every project that goes through this goes through the DOT. They have different groups or different units, okay? They have subject matter experts.
Do we have anyone from the communities? We have many private communities. We all have a president of their association. So I think the state should reach out to these communities and get a few representatives in this area so that they can directly speak with you and give you first-hand information. Because I hear a lot of, you know, subject matter experts, studies, you know, facts, all this stuff, but you're not considering the human factor, right? We get tens of thousands of transient people in here every summer, like to come and go. If you drive up 35 North in the summer months, you have real estate agencies that people are trying to check into. There's no parking, so they double park into the highway. I mean, people backing up like crazy. The problem with the left turns from the right lane is that people come back here on vacation. Their mind is flying. What am I going to do tomorrow? Where am I going to go? We got to make it to the restaurant now because we're going to miss our reservation. All of these sorts of things cause people to lose their mind when it comes to driving. It's like you leave your driving skills at home. Okay? That's the human factor that we all should be thinking about is what that people actually do in that community. You're not going to find out when you're subject matter experts. You're going to find out what representatives of the community. Absolutely. Also, another left from the right wing. Up here by the donut shop, open donuts, or the red donut shop on the left. A girl just a few weeks ago, 10:30 at night. It just happened to be that there were two cars next to each other in the lane. Otherwise, the highway was empty. The girl on the right lane made a left turn, pushed the other guy off the road, and they both ran into the donut shop, damaging the donut shop. All right? Now, this is on a tragedy. It's a real tragedy. What I'm going to is that if that can happen, Snoopy folks, if that can happen, 10:30 at night, nobody on the road. What do you think happens in your building today in the summertime? Right? I mean, this means that there's a lady here that said she saw it happen 6 times. I probably saw it 20 times in the past year. You know, and I'm not on the road all the time. So this is a very frequent occurrence. Right? Again, consider the human factor. Don't look for stats and all that crap. Look at the hands and feet on the ground that live here and get the information from them. All right? And then you guys got those covered. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Let me just say real quick, we do have to stop at 5 o'clock because we are going to do another one of these in another town, right? On River. So, yeah, I want to make sure that everyone has signed in. And again, if you want to continue this,
You can also go to the other meeting if you want to be part of that also. You're welcome to go to both. And again, I just want to remind everybody.
You certainly should. What's that? You certainly should.
So can you raise your hand? You gotta sign in. You gotta sign in sheet. If you can raise your hand, we'll just be able to pass it around. Secondly, I want to make sure that everybody can gain access to the website. Okay, you can take a picture of this. There's a URL, we'll get you there. There's also the actual website name on that. So if you take a picture of this, I'll put it up here. If anybody can take a picture of that, or go back to the website. There's documentation on this.
Open it into. Put in yellow. That would eliminate the train. I knew that going up there saying.
I want to get here. So I'm going to ask you this because it's taxpayer money. There's two things that I'm questioning. One, what was the amount of the grant? How much it was been spent? And what are all these people doing here? Like, I'm sure they're part of the thing, but there seems to be an awful lot of people here. There's only like 2 people being involved. And this is, I'm looking at it like a boss and an owner. It's my funds. If I run a company, if I have 10 people standing around at meetings not supposed to participating, I would question why they do that. And I'm sure they're all very nice people. I'm sure they're all very
You want to speak again? I think if people sick of something. Standing around, watching one guy take it over.
This is the council development team, and Mika is a project manager. Her assistant is Adriana, is right next to her. Who is the manager of that project, okay? So that's what I'm doing. It is a very new unit, so we're coming out together because it's a new unit that has been created, so that's why we're here. The rest of the team is our consultants. So those are the designers. It seems like it is, and the mayor's nice. So the mayor knows, given the fact he's doing operation stuff with them, there's a lot of us there because we all took different things. So it's just happens to be a lot when we come to a couple of corrections.
I work downstairs. I'm downstairs.
That's why your face is. You're not related to Cicero, are you? You look a lot like it. You know that, right? Has anybody enjoyed it? I want to tell you something. I think.
I'm working.
Yeah, like, everybody, we should have given everybody a second.
Good job. Thank you. Have a good night. Don't point the wrong way.